22,000 breaths a day is the average person, and many people don't take one conscious.
I don't think I've ever been mindful, and it almost makes me more anxious when I try to be mindful. I'm like,
I used to be an angry guy, and through breathwork, I released so much of that. It was like literally quantum leaps in my healing process.
Are you seeing any like pattern recognition of the world's problems?
Everybody has things from their childhood that they haven't dealt with. Hey, humanity in general right now, we're so disconnected from being human.
Could you tell everyone about your 3-day adventure?
There's a few moments I wanted to quit, and then further into it, where I actually started to...
all right, here we go. The More You Pod, Dom and Ben, we're here where you get more of you, less of the BS. We're learning how to be the best we can be.
I noticed you didn't swear tonight. I noticed. Are you cleaning
by the way,
it up?
I did make the executive decision to bleep the swear words anyway, so fuck this, fuck that, beep it, bull. It doesn't matter.
But we want to hear you swear.
No, I mean, people... I think it's kind of funnier when you bleep it. We'll talk about it offline. But
all right, we'll sub meeting that.
Anybody listening, if you know this kind of stuff, I believe that from an exposure perspective, it's significant. The amount of, but yeah. So
for the kids.
Yeah.
Hey, let's. We got to thank our amazing sponsors, MD Hyperbaric. We are so excited to have them. Hyperbaric chambers are. There's a little bit of a miracle thing, right, Ben? I mean, people are not aware of this. I mean, what you can heal with a hyperbaric chamber is pretty amazing.
Heal, and I think the new thing is the longevity perspective of it. So the prevention, the maintenance, that kind of stuff, I think is huge. So MD Hyperbaric, as you've mentioned before, Dom, they're one of the most medically sound to the T. Insurance will get it covered if you're using their machine. So if that kind of tells you what level they're at.
Yeah. I mean, I may be making this up, but they're putting you under pressure, like it's NASA, or you're like, in some kind of oceanic rift or something like that. Like it's heavy stuff. It's heavy. A lot of pressure.
I think if you do the relaxation component of it, there's a mental health component to it. I think probably you could do some of Brian's breathing, who we're going to talk to today, some of his breathing techniques, even while you're in the tank.
All right. I love it. Well, MD Hyperbaric, make sure to go to mdhyperbaric.com, schedule your hyperbaric session in the town or city nearest you. We are super pumped to have a guest today who is really taken, and I'm going to really get into this. People talk about mindfulness, but he's taken mindfulness and really breathing, I feel like, to the next level. He's I think if you ask him, he described himself as an incredible student of all of this, and he's able to take it and summarize it and compartmentalize it in a way that's actually really effective. So welcome, Brian Coones, to the show.
Thank you, Dom. Brian. Thank you, Dr. Ben. It's good to be here. Appreciate it.
Look at it. Look at that timing. Yeah. Ben is fine. Brian.
All right.
Yeah, bro. We're still working the kinks out on this show. Yeah. So you got to just ride with us. And just a disclaimer on this, Brian is a dear, dear, dear friend of mine. He is my brother, and he only lives like 3 blocks away.
Oh,
so,
nice. So you guys could have done this live, man. You can walk down the street.
Yeah,
Brian,
we totally could have done it live.
We do. Yeah, we do a lot of stuff live, actually, with the band as well. So it's
yeah, we played a band together.
Is he on the intro music, Dom, or no?
No, he wasn't on the intro music, but
didn't want to give you royalties.
We play live shows together. We have a really good time. So, Brian, thank you so much for being here. And obviously the purpose of this podcast is helping people get more out of themselves, and that is literally what you get to do with people every day. I know you get interviewed like crazy all the time. People are asking you things. It was weird to take like a good friend and actually like think about questions that you're going to ask them, because we never really try to talk about our business lives or anything. But I wanted to start out, Brian, because I think this is really important. Is what do you kind of think is the biggest kind of misconception when it comes to like mindfulness practice and those types of things? I think people have like a sense of like what they think it is in their minds, and I think there's a lot of misconception out there.
Yeah, there's a lot in meditation, and mindfulness is confused as well. But it's something that's very simple yet so difficult to do. And really, I usually like to say that mindfulness is a synonym for awareness. And how often during our waking moments are we actually in the present moment? And that's really what mindfulness is. Like, how often am I actually here noticing what's happening around me, fully present with both of you and everybody else, noticing what's happening around me and feeling what's actually happening in my body, without the judgment, without the nonstop chatter. And so that's what mindfulness is. But to get there is very tricky, considering most of the time we're in autopilot. We're literally spending 95% of our day, same thoughts, same patterns, same things over and over again. Just imagine you're driving your car somewhere. How many times have you showed up at a destination not remembering how you even got there? That's autopilot.
I don't think I've ever been mindful, and it almost makes me more anxious when I try to be mindful. I'm like, so wait, is this mindfulness? Am I there now? Like, wait a minute. I think or am I thinking, since I'm thinking about it, doesn't mean I'm not there? Or like, it's like, it can almost get you into like this funnel of like, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point, because when people meditate, they have that same feeling like, am I meditating? Is this actually happening? But really, so just to differentiate the two, mindfulness means, this is how I show up in my day-to-day life. Meditation is a tool that I practice becoming more mindful, becoming more familiar with myself. So to your point, Ben, when you're sitting in a meditation, your thoughts are coming and going. And the idea is, am I on that train of thought or off the train of thought? And bringing myself back to the present moment. That's what it is. It's always just bringing it back. But, that's a practice. That's something we have to learn to do over time. So we have more present moments because, as you said, often we're way off in the future, problem solving, worrying, trying to figure out what could go wrong. We're wired for survival, not happiness. So we're off somewhere looking out for what could happen, or we're just stuck in the past and an old story.
So Brian, listening to you talk, I never thought about it this way, but just tell me if I got this right. Like, mindfulness is the destination, but the breath work is the vehicle to kind of get there.
Yeah. So, to differentiate something else again, like meditation is, mindfulness meditation, which is a type of meditation, to add another layer of confusion, but that means I'm just observing the breath watching. Breath work is conscious breathing. I'm now using my breath in a certain pattern, in a certain sort of cadence in different ways to create a physiological state change, to actually lever my nervous system into safety so I can be more present. So yeah, there's kind of a different aspect with breath, but breath is powerful. And I love breath because, and Dom, when we did this together, when we first, we talked about breath work, we just started doing some Wim Hof breaths behind your house one night. And you're quickly, just for a moment, then, as Ben said, all of those thoughts and all those things that we're always ruminating and problem solving, it just stops for a second. And you're like, wait a minute. This is possible. We can actually let all of those things go in a moment. Meditation takes years to get to a certain place, and it's a wonderful practice. But breath cuts right through and creates a powerful state change, bringing you to the present moment.
Yeah, and just a side note for everybody, Brian literally gave me like what I feel is like a psychological lifeline through this Wim Hof breathing. And Ben is the one I sent to you, where like, it's shocking how that can absolutely dismantle a frantic nervous system, and just put you in a totally different headspace. And Brian, do you want to just talk about that? Because I think the one thing I learned from you is there is so much functionability of getting to some places, both physically, psychologically, all these different things with breathing that I think a lot of people don't even understand it's almost like there's this secret out there that's been lost thousands of years ago or something on breathing to unlock things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually really it. We've lost our way with breathing. 22,000 breaths a day is the average person. And many people don't take one conscious, and just that, I feel like just a little different for one breath. So that's, it's that there's so much power right under our nose with the breath. And it could be as simple as a couple of deep breaths. Just, when you're feeling tension, to kind of bring yourself into the moment before a difficult phone call, before you reply to that email in haste, and, but to your point, Dom, breath can be an absolutely powerful healing practice as well. It can be a liberation of the trapped energy in our body and the things we've been holding on to our entire lives. So it's just a powerful tool, and it has all types of different applications. Something as quick as just a quick state change to something that will literally potentially heal trauma. I used to be an angry guy, and through breath work, I released so much of that. It was like literally quantum leaps in my healing process through deep breath work sessions. And so, I mean, you can see I get excited, really excited about the breath, but there's so much there. And it's just wonderful just to be able to show people what's possible at no cost when they learn to practice and learn to breathe.
Are there just so many different patterns out there that do so many different things?
Yeah. So there's different patterns to put your brain waves in different states, so right now we're probably all in beta, just, regular wakefulness. High beta would be,
I'm always in alpha.
You're an alpha. Okay. Yeah, amazing. High beta would be, anxiety, right? But as you lower it, alpha is where you start to get into more of a meditative state. And then, even deeper is theta, where it kind of opens up the door to the subconscious. That's kind of the hypnotic state. So, you can get into different brainwave states with different breath patterns. But, again, like it's really just for the average person listening right now, to use the tool effectively just means that you have to be present enough to notice and to stop and take a few deep breaths, especially when you notice, stress, because it's a stress lever again. So, we all go through the day. We're all triggered by different things. If I can learn to actually just stop and pause and take a breath, it will absolutely change your life. And that's the practice with awareness. So there's where mindfulness and breath work come in. How often do I notice when I'm in that state? Something's happening. I'm starting to get tense. Feel like I might say something or do something that might not be favorable, to just stopping and taking those breaths. And again, bringing the nervous system back down to rest and digest.
Brian, when you say that, I mean, if you're first starting out and you're trying to do this and you're trying to get yourself to be mindful and take a moment, like, are there some tricks to do you set little alarms to just say hold on, take a second? Like what do you suggest?
Yeah, that's exactly what you do. And there's an acronym STOP, and S means stop. The brain uses arm and leg movement as a door of avoidance. I love watching new meditators. Like, I'm like, just sit still for a second. They're like scratching, and suddenly they got to fidget and move and anything but going inward, right? And so stop just means stop. Put the phone down. Definitely put the phone down. T is take a breath, and it could be just 3 breaths. It could be a number of different breaths, depending on the time that you have. And then the O in stop is just observing. So that's the check-in process. Like, how am I actually feeling? Just being curious, being open, and then just accepting whether it's a pleasant or unpleasant thought or feeling. Just getting used to just being curious and noticing without labeling it, and then P is proceeding forward with new awareness. So that stop practice is basically 15 years of mindfulness encapsulated into one practice. But I have people set notifications to do that. I have people, put a Post-it on the fridge, on the mirror in the bathroom, on your computer monitor, the computer dash or the car dashboard. But when you do that over a period of time, just like any habit, eventually it becomes part of who you are, and you find yourself stopping more often and actually enjoying all the great things that are happening around you when you're not in your head ruminating.
Are you working with a particular type of patient or person, or is it group sessions? Like who do you find that benefits from this the most?
Everybody benefits from it, but it's interesting. I've just in the last while, it's been mostly men. I do a lot of work with executives, and it's interesting because I'll do an emotional intelligence assessment for a company with some of their leaders. And, they'll take a look at the results, and they can see where they need to do some work. But at the end of the day, the second conversation is usually, I can't regulate my emotions. I'm just, I'm holding on to too much. I've got all these beautiful things in my life, but there's very little moments of peace. And so I find myself working more and more with men. But, to answer that question, I do, I take people on retreats as well. When you get, people for 2 or 3 days together in a group, you can go so deep with this work. And yeah, so it's, so that's kind of how I've been working. And then, I also do, Don was talking about performing, but it's interesting. There's a sort of a new thing that's happening now where people are starting to take wellness into entertainment as well. So I'll collaborate with other musicians and vocalists and do deep breathwork sessions for groups for, up to an hour and a half, where people are literally crying and releasing so much. And it's powerful when you can create these containers. And, that's why I love this. I just love seeing people go through those transformations and just let go and just be free for a minute.
Dom, if it's the theme really well, I mean, Brian, obviously Dom and I are both busy guys running around. We're intense, and it's kind of how we started this, where from the outside, it seems like we got it all under control, but literally not a moment in the day I've thought about a breath I've taken, like you said. And while I'm happy, I think, but then I'm doing this. When I'm at work, I feel I should be home. When I'm home, I feel I should be working. I'm running like 1,000,000 miles an hour. So something like this, it fits in nicely. We did an interview with one of my buddies, and he's a psychologist, and he does ketamine and MDMA retreats, very similar. Like, I feel like if you two got together, you could make heads explode, because very similar process, obviously pharmacologically, but yeah, it's good insight.
Yeah, I mean,
And I'm thinking,
sorry, Don, but like psychedelics and breathwork are two keys that both open the door to the subconscious, and I'm a big fan of psychedelics in the proper setting as well.
So Brian, I care about Ben a whole bunch, and for numerous reasons. Ben is like an absolute, like, I call him the thoroughbred, because he's just going. Like, what would you suggest for like him just in his day? Like, what is one thing he can do in his day to just put him in like a great state? Make sure, because we don't want his Ben like burning out on us. We have like at least 5,000 more of these podcast episodes to do. So like, what is it for like a guy like that that's just running like mad? What could he do in his day?
Yeah, and it's so common with A types and achievers, and it's we get wired to get into that space and we almost become addicted to the adrenaline, to the achievement and all the things. And I don't want to speak for you, Ben, but in general, it's sometimes when we're sitting still, it feels like we're not doing something, and it's very difficult to do. But the big thing I would say is really learning how to feel again. I mean, we get so caught up in our head, and many of us are living just on the left brain, going all the time, but protecting time just to slow down and to check in with what's happening in a formal way, just really saying, okay, every hour or two, I'm going to take a few minutes to ground in and really just check in with myself, bringing it all back down again, because that nonstop, in those states, sometimes we're pushing so hard that, it's like a low level of chronic stress in the body. And Ben, you look like you're a very healthy dude. And so a lot of people are not aware of that. And, but the inflammation and all the things that come from that grumbling stress. So we're leaking energy out when we're in those states, but really slowing down to speed up is a real thing. And that's the most difficult thing I find, that people are like not willing to grasp that. But when they actually start to practice, you realize like, whoa, when I bring it all back to the moment, I settle in again. I can feel my body, what's actually happening. I can feel the energy running through my body. And just for a second, those 60,000 thoughts a day, the clouds just kind of part, that blue sky of awareness appears. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And now I can just reset and go. And so I think it's just about creating that practice. And it's really, again, just the foundation of mindfulness. Like, how often am I more in the present moment, checking in with myself, and then go back and get after it?
So it's about a check-in.
It's about a check-in and feeling, really feeling. Yeah. Like many of us don't really know what's happening in our body till something's hurting, but like what's actually, maybe I'm carrying some emotion today. Maybe there's a little heaviness in the belly, or what's happening in the heart. And, the heart's an interesting thing for men as well. The heart is actually signaling the brain more than the brain to the heart. And there's a group called Heart Math. They've been around for 40 years. And, a lot of big Joe Dispenza, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but a lot of these big meditation groups and retreats really focus on the heart. When we open the heart and we actually get into that space, we create coherence in the body where everything is sort of moves back into equanimity. And so just really taking a moment to even check in on the heart space, and just imagine taking a few breaths through that. Seems very foreign, but moving from the head to the heart really just changes everything. And over time, we actually find ourselves spending a little bit more time here.
I would say, like you used me for the example. Thank you, Dom. Let's say I do it tomorrow, or Dom gave me the Wim Hof thing. I think I did it like 5 or 10
Yep.
times, and now it's been like 3 weeks. I haven't done it again, because shit came up, and I got busy, and I'm like, okay, no, now I got. But literally, I've tried. I think I might even have it on my calendar. I had it on my work or my phone calendar. It said like just 3 minutes, just take 3 minutes in the morning, and I did it for a couple weeks, and then like, of course, you get busy, and you're like, it's on my calendar every day, and I don't do it anymore because now it just became repetitive. But you don't see, it doesn't change your life after 10 times. So that's kind of the problem. The impatience, it's easy to get with something like that.
Yeah. No, and that's it. And Ben, you raise a good point there as well, because the protecting time in the morning, at least to set your day up, is massive. And there's a million books about the power of morning routines and the 5 a.m. clubs. It's not necessarily what time you wake up. It's just taking that time for yourself to center yourself and check in before the day even starts. Even just that one habit will change everything over time. When you take the morning and when you wake up in the morning, we sometimes we think it's a clean slate, but there's a lot of cortisol. We're already starting to things. What do people do? The first thing they do is they grab their phone, and God forbid you're looking at the news, or you get pulled into a scroll hole in social media. But even if you're just checking email, now I'm being pulled into someone else's timeline. It's Brian's like falling farther off all the time. Every single time I do that, now I'm in a reactive mode. So just taking that time in the morning, and so protecting that and being non-negotiable, but that is huge. It absolutely changed my life. And you're right, though. That's the difficult thing about this. We love the instant gratification, or we're like, we'll try it for a little while, we fall off. But sticking to it every single day, you really notice a difference over time. Consistency creates a certain momentum. And then you really notice that when you don't start the day that way, the day ends up in a very different place. I'm really wound up at the end of the day. Now I'm not sleeping as well at night because I didn't set it up in the morning. I didn't put that armor of resilience on.
I don't know about you, but I'm tired all the time. And the only cure for that, either some medical grade drugs or just going to the hyperbaric chamber.
It's like taking a deep breath on steroids. It's like, but if they jam it in every cell. Not only that, there's an anti-inflammatory component. If you were to have any injury or surgery or anything like that, boom, science. It's that simple. It's going to make it better, faster.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that it does all these different things. Chronic pain, chronic fatigue, these kind of things. MD Hyperbaric has the right type of chambers. Don't settle for anything less than something that's more of a medical grade chamber. They are in so many different locations. Make sure that you go to mdhyperbaric.com to check them out. You could even tell them that Ben and Dom sent you from More You.
mdhyperbaric.com.
You're acting as almost like part-time psychologist for your clients, it seems like. Are you seeing any like pattern recognition of the world's problems? Like what are you seeing? Because you're talking to so many people and hearing so many things. I'm just curious about what you're hearing is like the common issues.
Yeah, that's a great question, Dom. And absolutely, it's a very, very similar pattern. The one pattern is that, and this is the part where I'm stepping into the psychology piece, but like everybody has things from their childhood that they haven't dealt with. So that's a whole deep topic, but it's worth exploring. But I would just say humanity in general right now, we're so disconnected from being human. These retreats that I do for men, I call them primal retreats because we get out there and we do hard things. We move our bodies, we breathe, we do hormesis practices. So cold exposure, heat, breath work, spend time in nature, get our feet into the dirt. We've disconnected from who we are. We actually are nature. So I feel that just because of the urbanization, the increasing amount of technology, it's just overwhelming. And so it's become an epidemic, and we've really lost our way in that way. And things are just going faster and faster as well. I mean, if you're not willing to work 14-hour days, then this guy will do that. And, so it's been part of the culture as well. So that's a common thread that I'm seeing throughout the entire gamut of everyone.
Brian, you got people telling you stuff all the time and you're helping people work through and all that stuff. Do you find that difficult to like shake that off?
Yeah. I mean, I've heard everything. And sometimes I've heard this from people, in that container, even people that are close to me in that space will share very, very deep things and things that I'm probably not qualified to be managing, but sometimes people just need to be heard. and seen and share these things. It's just cathartic sometimes for people just to share, because we just hold on to so much. And, going back to your earlier question, we're all holding on to things that we're not sharing, we're not letting go of, we're carrying things. And that's one of the big powerful things about, the retreats, especially with men, is that we have an opportunity to sit around in a circle and, throw that in the fire and really let go of what we've been carrying for so long.
Yeah, I was going to ask, sorry, and it's funny you mentioned the men. Like, is there just a big difference between men and women with this?
Well, women, when I would do retreats initially, like probably 5 years ago, I kind of started doing retreats. It was only women showing up, because women have been doing the work and maybe dragging along the odd reluctant husband. But it just seems that men are now getting to that space where we're starting to wake up a little bit to say, okay, wow, man, I got the house, I got the car, I've got the family, I've got all the vacations, and I've got no peace or little peace, or I feel like I'm still chasing something, or I feel like I just, it's never enough. And yeah, so there's a lot of men saying, okay, yeah, maybe this isn't woo-woo. And the fact now that there's so much science attached to all the things that we're describing now, that wasn't even there that long ago. I mean, neuroplasticity is still a very, it's a recent thing. And the biology of belief and the way, the power of our thoughts, and epigenetics, how the environment in our body will either, if we have a cancer in our body, which we seem to all have, it doesn't have to be turned on unless we have a certain environment in the body. And if I'm walking around all the time in fear and shame and guilt, chances are something's going to happen. So I think men are now at that point where they're like, I got to do something. And so creating these containers, there's men who show up, and I love when someone shows up to this and they haven't done this work before, and everyone's kind of guarded. We all get together on the Friday evening, and it's like no one really knows what to do. And then it's literally a family by the next day because of some of the things we do. And then friendships are forged through these practices and events and experiences ongoing. Like, there's these WhatsApp chats are still buzzing months and months afterwards, and it's beautiful. But men leave transformed and a lot lighter than when they showed up. The tricky part, though, is that when they get back to the world that was still waiting for them, things look different at that point, and it can get kind of uncomfortable. But that's part of the work.
Could you tell everyone about your 3-day adventure? Brian's always pushing himself like mad, and if you can just talk about that, I think that would be incredible for people to hear.
The darkness.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
It was myself and two other guys who are very deep in this work and leaders in the space, and we intentionally did a 3-day darkness retreat, fasted and silence. And so there was we each had it was at a retreat center. We each had our own space, so we had a room with a bed and a bathroom, and basically we got together. There was like hot and cold facilities there, so we did the whole thing and stated our intentions, and then we left and went into the darkness, and so the room was blacked out. I also wore a black eye mask throughout the day, so I didn't really know what time it was, but there's all kinds of versions. I could share the whole journey, but I can tell you that it was like, at first I didn't realize how exhausted I was. And it was like, oh man, there's the chance to kind of chill out and relax. But eventually you get caught up to that. And I'm like, okay, now what, right? Now what? So you spend a lot of time facing yourself and with nowhere to run. And it was really interesting. And it's weird though, when you don't know if it's day or night and what time should I go to sleep, and how do I put toothpaste on the toothbrush? And you've got to come up with little systems and things. And you kind of, at times you get a little bit panicky, but it was really the practices that saved me. And there was moments further into it. There's a few moments I wanted to quit, and then further into it where I actually started to kind of collapse right into some deep, it was a deeper sense of awareness. It was almost like an emptiness, where it was like I was observing Brian from a different perspective. And there's a lot there to unpack, but I can tell you this, that we all met after the 72 hours on a rooftop to watch the sunrise. We stayed silent all morning after that before we broke the fast and had some food and shared but when that sun came over the horizon, three men crying like babies, just because it's incredible when you deprive yourself from that, how grateful it is just to see the sun again, to feel the breeze and, the little things we take for granted. So if nothing else, it was just a hard reset on my brain, my nervous system, and probably my soul as well.
Yeah. Well, was there a panic button? Could have you quit? They have you locked in?
No, it was not locked in there, but we did say that if someone was like wailing uncontrollably and it wasn't going to stop, that we would have to like interject. But we all
nobody got there.
We made it. Yeah.
I mean, 72 hours is a very long time to be with yourself, I think, in silence. It's one thing if you're driving in a car and you're listening to the radio or this or that and the other thing, and it's just all that distraction. And I think probably, Brian, that's probably the biggest part, right? Whereas there's just zero distraction. It was just you.
Just me. But it created such a tremendous amount of clarity, things I'm struggling with and just the way I looked at the world was different, but everything just became clear with no technology and nothing. But it is so fascinating to watch the mind at certain points say, okay, like, what the are you doing? Why would you sign up for this? Like, this is ridiculous. You could be like doing anything right now. Why are you doing this? And then you're like, okay, relax. So the struggle is real, but you learn a lot about yourself in a space like that.
It's incredible. I mean, 72 hours, no food, no light, no sound. I mean, that's a big deal. So I want to just talk a little bit about like what we do in this too is we're talking about how, you're helping people. We also kind of want to talk a little bit about how you're helping yourself. And we're kind of just interested also in how you've been building your brand, like how you're getting people to know about what it is you do and those things. How has that been as a journey?
Yeah, it's been a tricky journey because, in as far as a business goes, this is a tricky business because, it's just me at the end of the day. And how do you scale yourself? So that's been interesting. But what else is interesting is that I've realized this is exactly what I'm meant to do. And that's when, I suddenly realized, wait a minute, I am building a brand just by doing what I love to do. And, you mentioned helping myself. I mean, it was my own journey that started this. It was my own breakdown and restart where I had to say, okay, man, why? What is this? And there's a feeling of, I didn't really have a lot of love for myself. I barely liked myself and I didn't realize that. And I built this whole exterior thing and was chasing shiny objects and there was no awareness of what was happening inside. And so once I sort of started on that path, it just started to evolve and I started to talk to a few friends and I'm like, and then I remember one time I got a letter from a friend who said, who shared that I literally changed their life. And then it started happening more and more and more. And then I'm like, wow, service to others. There's something here that I've never experienced before. So, fast forward a few years now, I mean, I've got supporting, I do a number of different initiatives through, social media platforms. And the cool thing is that as I get better at doing this, as I get better at really, how can I help somebody more effectively in a shorter period of time or really understand, the better I get at it, the more opportunities that come to me. And so it's a process and it's been a slow journey, but I've learned so much. I've healed myself so much through this process. And, I feel a little bit emotional just thinking about how many people have like literally said to me, I've changed their life. And that's priceless.
That's amazing. And Ben, you get to feel that too.
Yeah. It's so rewarding, brother. Yeah.
Man, we really got to connect him and Damon. They got a very similar trajectory. He's doing, like I said, with the ketamine, MDMA, psychedelics, very similar, I think, model to what you're doing.
Yeah.
And he also was self-driven, got it himself, and then has, really making a difference in people's lives and enjoying that part of it. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Ben, I don't want to skip over the fact that, you get that feeling of, you're helping people like all day and people are so excited.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it helps me as much. I don't get as much out of it as they do.
What do you not feel? But when people tell you like, oh God, Dr. Ben, you've changed my life. I'm so happy. True, yeah. I've always that's got to feel pretty amazing.
The satisfaction is good from that perspective. 100%.
Yeah.
Can't argue with that.
Brian, what just with building your brand and whatnot, and whether it was early days or recent or anything, like what do you feel worked best with what you're doing?
The first thing that came to mind was just being authentic. At first I would try to model what someone else was doing and the way they were delivering it. I think just over time, when I really learned to just stop overthinking things and just being more authentic and showing up, even if it wasn't in messy and perfect action, that really started to resonate. And in that process, I just became a little bit more aware of who I am as well. And that continues to this day. But yeah, so I think it's just really about like, how do I authentically show up? And also at the same time, not like narrow it. I used to say yes to all kinds of these different things, and so I spread myself so thin, but my focus is starting to really narrow down now as well. And I think that's so important for the brand is to, when people look at me and they look at my brand, they say, oh, okay, Brian helps this person or that organization do this or that. And that's what I do.
That's really cool.
Yeah, we say, I also do a lot of the social stuff, and people reach out like how to grow their own whatever brand business. And it's funny because social media is so inauthentic and fake that somehow the authenticity is like the strongest currency, because it makes you an outlier to be yourself. And I'm always like, dude, it's easier to be you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some chick out there making 6 figures, 7 figures, reading Excel sheets. Like, she just shows you how to do Excel.
Yeah.
Like, good for her. She's very nerdy, and one person's outgoing and outlandish, and other person is just sits there and reads. You're just gonna do much better, and it's easier.
Yeah.
Too. You don't have to friggin' fake it. Yeah, so it's interesting.
Brian, is there a certain thing in your space that you feel is like absolute magic? Like, is there something in your space where you're like, this thing really works well? Is there one thing you can kind of tell us about that?
I just, when you said that, I mentioned Joe Dispenza earlier. If people don't know who he is, he's like the Tony Robbins of level of mindfulness and that type of work. He has a retreat, 2,000 people, and he does one, usually once or twice a month. They're sold out years in advance. So he gets 2,000 people together. He has a team of scientists now that are following these groups around. And within these groups, at least 20 people will volunteer to be studied. So EEGs, microbiome, blood work, all types of testing now. And it blows my mind what can happen in 7 days when people come together that create that coherence within the group. The healing, the transformations, it's unbelievable how powerful we are as human beings when we're tapped into that potential. So that it just blows my mind. And so, kind of going back, it just reminds me of what you were asking earlier as well. Like, what's happening with people right now is we're disconnected from that potential. Sometimes we think of like spiritualism or religion or God, but there's a field of consciousness that's around us, and it's like a Wi-Fi signal that we're blocked from, and we're not getting the downloads. We're not getting the sync as human beings to that, and that distortion is causing all types of problems. So it blows my mind how a guy like that can create these giant containers, capture all the science, and he's literally changing the game. And it's going to be really exciting as more and more of these things are being published in the next few years.
Brian, you're such a sweetheart, but we have to ask this question too. Is there something out there that's just bullshit? Like, are there things that you hear where people are like this, and you're like, look, in practice, that is bullshit. That does not work. Is there anything that comes to mind on that?
Yeah, there's all types of devices and things to help people not do the work. And so it's almost anything that is simple and easy when it comes to rewiring the brain and the nervous system and healing and doing the work and evolving yourself. It's usually bullshit. I mean, every little modality helps, every little thing helps, but there's no shortcuts. And that's the part that's really hard to swallow. And I remember even in my early journey, I was a dabbler in the practice, in which you get dabbler results. But at the end of the day, you have to do the work. So when I see, people making promises around that, and there's a lot of that, that's all bullshit.
So it sounds like just there's no shortcut. It's there. And I will take you back to the very beginning of this conversation, and kind of what you were saying is that, like, it is a practice. It is a discipline. Like, it is just something that you have to continuously do nonstop all the time.
Yeah. it is that. We love instant gratification. If we could just take a pill and it would be easy. And, there's pills have a place as well, but it's literally, how do we show up every day? What choices are we making? And really practicing that discipline, making it become who you are. And once you do that, though, once you do that hard part, like, change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and beautiful at the end is the saying. And, it is fucking hard and it is messy, but there's so much beauty when you let go of some of these things and you just become more aware and more moments of peace. And you know what, when you have more moments of peace within and you're a little more moments of love and gratitude within, you're projecting that into every conversation and every relationship with everyone else. And the world needs more of that right now.
For sure.
Amen.
Yeah.
Can you give me your Wednesday? Like, tell me is it 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at night? Are you meditating like 3 hours a day? Because you seem like you got it under control. I'm eager.
No, maybe not, but I have a very kind of similar routine in the morning. First thing I do is when I open my eyes is breath work. And I have a little practice as well where I'll open my eyes and I'll look around the room and I'll ask myself, who is observing right now? It's just a way of tapping into who you are and not this meat sack that I'm currently occupying. So that's just kind of an interesting practice. I have a dream journal, so I'm always interested in what deviant or interesting things are in my subconscious. So I write down my dreams if I remember them, and then it's right to the gym. And all this is quite early, so I'm up at just after 5. I'm at the gym by 6. I train there, and then that's basically my morning routine. I do like to stop though throughout the day, as I mentioned, and check in. At some point I will check in and do a little bit of journaling as well, just to kind of summarize how I'm feeling. Just writing down a few of those words is quite powerful. Cold plunge, as I mentioned, if I have the opportunity. I will sauna after I train as well in 20 minutes. I try to do 3 or 4 times a week. Cold plunge in the afternoon. And then I kind of bookend the evening as well by winding down at night, doing a little bit of breath work, reflection. I've even started praying as well, which is interesting. I'm not a religious guy, but I just love to put some goodness out in the universe and some thanks. And, sometimes I'll even write down a few wins at the end of the day as well, just to kind of set my mindset before I reset, and usually go to bed and wake up around the same time as well, just to keep the circadian rhythm tuned in.
Okay, I like it. That's a lot of work. I mean, that's some serious stuff you're talking about. I thought you were going to say like, hey, 30 breaths in the morning, 30 breaths at night, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
And that makes sense.
Yeah, but it's not a lot of time, but the ROI on that is real.
Brian, just on what you just said there, sorry, do you ever fall off the wagon? Like, do you ever find yourself falling off the wagon where just life is getting busy and you're going from one thing to the other? Like, does that happen to you sometimes?
There are times when it's not possible, but otherwise it's non-negotiable at this point. So,
I like that.
Unless, if I got a 6 a.m. flight, maybe it's not happening. Right. But, otherwise I just don't feel alive. I don't feel as centered. I don't feel as good. It's just been ingrained now that I need to do those things. And, for me, it was vanity and insecurity that kept me in the gym all these years. And then later it became something else. Something else is these other practices as well. And thankfully I'm still working out, and it turns out, muscle mass is a beautiful thing for longevity as well. So I kind of backed into that by accident. So.
Yeah, you can tell Brian is actually like built like a Viking. So it's awesome. Brian, thank you so much for doing this. We want to just plug you. Like, how do people find you? Like, what are your social handles? Of course, we'll have this all in the links, but can you just tell everybody what's the best way to get a hold of you or find you?
Yeah, just my name, Brian Coones, briancoones.com, and it's Brian Coones on all the social media platforms as well.
Got it. And that's Coones,
Coones. Yeah.
For people to know that. Brian, thank you so much for doing this, man. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And, I hope I see you soon.
I'll see you soon, brother. Thanks, Tom.
I'm doing it tomorrow. I'm going to get back tomorrow. Okay.
All right, Ben. Let's go.
Winner.
Beautiful, brother.
Go, Ben.